What is going on, guys? It's Reflex here, and with Quadratum being the next place we are probably going to be heading into Kingdom Hearts, well, at least one of the places that we're going to be heading to in Kingdom Hearts, my question is, obviously, this really does look like Versus 13. Plenty of similarities. Obviously, you got Yozora that looks like Noctis. You have Quadratum that looks like Insomnia. You're at the Citadel, practically, that you see where Riku is looking at. There's a lot of similarities, and even when you see Verum Rex, like the whole trailer and everything, and it makes me wonder how exactly, how much similarities are going to be towards Final Fantasy Versus 13. Like, is there going to be like what he dreamed of in that game thrown into this? Is it going to be what we played in the Verum Rex game in Kingdom Hearts? Because I will say, I did not enjoy the Gundam style of just that. I did not enjoy that at all. And even though it doesn't quite look like that's going to be everything, the fact that that's what they showed off in the video game form of Verum Rex, I hope that that's not actually what Quadratum is like. Like, I do not want to be Gundam fighting and fighting Gundams the whole time. Like, I want it to be, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't mind if it's just regular old soldiers, to be quite honest, and maybe a few Gundams here and there, but I just don't want it to be Gundam based, like a Gundam based world. That just would not work for me. I would not like that at all, because that was my least favorite part of Toy Story, to be quite honest, or Toy Box, I should say. But Verum Rex, you do notice that, you know, you have the Stella doppelganger of the Verum Rex, or I guess Quadratum version of her. That is the nameless star now. But in the Verum Rex trailer, we always see, we've seen Stella, we've seen Noctis, we've seen, it looked like a mixture of Arden and Prompto and Ignis and Gladio. We've seen like a mixture of those two put together rather than, like, you know, the actual characters themselves, because they obviously wouldn't do that. But with Quadratum, I'm wondering how far they would go, because even towards the end, when you finally beat Yozora in the Remind DLC boss fights, and you beat him, and then you get thrown in, win or lose, you get thrown into a different cutscene, but the cutscene ends the same way, which is a pretty much waking up from a dream state of Yozora, where essentially waking up to the scene in the first trailer, or not, maybe not the first trailer, but one of the trailers for Versus 13, and this is also a thing that happens in Final Fantasy 15. Like, it happens in both games, and it's pretty interesting that they do that specifically. But the funny and weird thing is, it looks like Lucia might be a person that's going to be in Quadratum. Now, it looks like he is the chauffeur of Yozora. Now, is he going to be taking the role of Core the Immortal, which is in Final Fantasy 15? Because Core was one of the main, he was the main guardians for King Regis in the game, which I think he was alongside Gladio's father, I believe. I'm not entirely sure. Like, I don't remember too much of Final Fantasy 15, but regardless, Core was an awesome person, and Lucia actually resembles Core in a pretty cool way. And if they throw him into, you know, into Quadratum and he plays a good part, maybe he'll be a guardian of Yozora instead. Because if we look at Final Fantasy 15 and how that story takes place, if they are going to go in a similar route to how it was in Final Fantasy Versus 13, or like the early versions of that, or even Final Fantasy 15, then that means Yozora should be the heir to the throne behind whoever they may call King Regis in Quadratum. So that means Core might be the person that will be his guardian. He's not just a chauffeur, he is the guardian of, or I don't even know if he was a chauffeur. I have to rewatch it again, because this is all on top of my brain. I haven't watched that scene in a very long time. I know I freaked out though, but regardless, that Lucia, if that's actually Lucia and just into that world, it would be awesome. Maybe that's where he came from. Maybe that's actually his person, not his nobody, but his actual person. That'd be cool. And it would make sense that maybe he was alongside Yozora the whole entire time. It would be interesting. It'd be crazy that Nomura would try to pull that off, but I could see it happening. But it also does make me wonder who's going to be playing the role of Arden. Now, obviously, they're not going to be doing the whole Final Fantasy 15 story, and even they're probably not even going to do Final Fantasy Versus 13. They just got a lot of similarities. But this is a world that is in Final Fantasy. Like, it looks like they're taking a lot of what was from that world and maybe some characters. So it would make sense that they would add a King Regis. They would add a Core the Immortal. They would add an Arden. You know, if they add an Arden, who would be playing Arden? What would be his role? I feel like Arden could be a person manifested by Master of Masters himself, to maybe is responsible for Stella losing her form. And I'm just saying Stella because there's no name for the nameless star, but maybe the Arden of Quadratum is the reasoning behind Stella losing her form. And maybe as we're going back to, or going into Quadratum to try to save Sora, obviously Riku's going to probably be going toe-to-toe with Yozora from at least the beginning, and then maybe getting a handful of like, oh, maybe you're the bad guy, you're the reason for this, blah, blah, blah. Or maybe they'll team up right away, who knows, but we'll then probably see an Arden or just a villain of that area, whoever it may be, and we'll start, maybe they'll team up and we'll see the whole exact like just events that transpire to make everything go bad. One thing I'm not entirely sure of is that if the battle between Sora and Yozora was canon, was it canon to the point where, you know, was the loss actually the canon part and not the win? Because when you win, Yozora kind of disappears, but when you lose, Sora ceases to exist, or at least turns to crystal, kind of like how Final Fantasy 13 does it. And that would make more sense considering the situation that Sora is in right now. Now, if you win, it doesn't quite make sense why well, I guess maybe they're in the same place, so maybe he wins against Yozora and then he just travels and finds his way into Shibuya somehow. But I feel like the loss is more canon than the win, in my opinion. But also kind of thinking towards it, what role is Xigbar and Master of Masters going to play? Because in my head canon, I want to assume that not only is Kairi going to be a pivotal part in this, because she has knowledge of this other place, she just doesn't have or retain the memories of it. You know, she doesn't, because I guarantee Xehanort probably talked more and more about this to her, because he did say, because I felt like we were missing a lot of information, but he was saying that if you arrive in a world that's neither of light or dark, but somewhere in, you know, on the other side, you know, we have failed. And it feels like this has been spoken not only to Xehanort, but also he probably spoken to Kairi before or even after, or maybe went even more and more in depth on it. But there has to be something more to it. But then also Master of Masters, because not only do we have Kairi's memories, but Master of Masters actually appeared at the end, making the little heart symbol towards the moon, signifying Kingdom Hearts, but he's in Quadratum as we speak. Now the question is, how long has he been there? Has he been there for a while? Is he the cause of Stella becoming the nameless star? Is he the whole reason why, you know, everything transpired there? And then also, how much does Xigbar know? Because I feel like Xigbar and then all the foretellers are going to end up in Skalad Kylum to kind of, they're probably going to go against Mickey almost. Like, it's not intentional, but they're going to be traveling there probably to gain more information about what they need to do. And then also Mickey's going to be traveling there. And I want to assume that he's going to travel there with Donald and Goofy. Like, this is just what I'm assuming, but I want to say that he's going to be traveling there with Donald and Goofy, because originally Donald and Goofy were the knights for Mickey. So it would make sense that he would go there with them to kind of get more information of the ancients. And it would make sense that maybe Xigbar and all the others are Lucia. I'm not always going to call him Xigbar, but it would make sense that they are also going to the same place for more information, and then a clash happens, and maybe Mickey kind of understands. He's like, wait, I kind of remember you, or something. Like, maybe he'll not only remember Bragg, but he'll be like, probably he heard stories about Lucia or something, or just something crazy. Like, I feel like so much story is going to unfold when Mickey goes to Skalad Kylum. There's going to be a lot of story elements that are just going to be told through that alone. That is a pivotal part. I honestly believe that that's the most pivotal part, is Mickey traveling to Skalad Kylum to figure out more information on the ancients, and probably more information on a lot of things. But it also does make me wonder, you know, you got through a whole bunch of games and Kingdom Hearts 3 ended, and we still have no idea what's in the goddamn box. We have no clue, and I can't wait to figure it out. And my question is, will we figure it out in this game? Will we figure it out in, you know, a couple games from now? Like, when are we going to figure out what's exactly in this box? Is there anything in this box? Is this just, you know, a meaningless box that, I don't know, it's weird. It's just weird to me. Is it a box that somehow transports you from the other side to the world of the light and dark? Like, you know, you have the unfictional world or whatever Handsome said about Quadratum, but imagine that box is actually a piece that you need to be able to travel to the other side and back. You know, I mean, it just could be something crazy. It could have some meaning like that. I have no clue. Because how do we know that the foretellers then, you know, figure out about this box or something, or just something crazy, and then, or maybe they were told by Lucia at some point, or just something crazy to the point where they were just like, you can travel over, you know, to the other side for a bit and wait till my call. Because all of a sudden, the box is there, the Keyblade's back where it belongs, into Lucia's hands, and then all of a sudden the foretellers appear. They didn't appear at all beforehand, but then all of a sudden, the box is there, the Keyblade's back where it belongs, and then all of a sudden, they are called upon him to just, you know, kind of, he has a lot of stories to tell. He has a lot of information to tell them. And of course, if they were around during the time of, you know, when everything was going on with Organization 13 and all that, why were they just not, you know, aware or trying to stop anything? Maybe it's because they were never here before. If they're on the other side and they can't get back, or maybe they were awaiting, they wouldn't be able to know what's going on the other side into our world of Destiny Islands and, you know, all those worlds. But they wouldn't be able to know because they can't sense over there. Just like how they said that you won't be able to hear, you know, the screams or whatever it was. I forgot the exact quote, but they did say, like, we can't hear on that side. We won't be able to hear you, sense you, or nothing when you're over on the other side. So maybe that's the case when you're also over on that side. You can't hear nothing over into our realm as well. So I don't know. It's weird, but it's cool. But it definitely does make me wonder so many different branching, you know, arcs that we're going to have and how much is going to be meaningful every step of the way. And I honestly think, in my opinion, the most meaningful one is Mickey's travel to Scala at Kylum, as well as figuring out more information on the foretellers and Lucia and just what their plans are after that little epilogue scene that we got. But let me know down in the comment section below your thoughts on this. I realize it's kind of a far-fetched theory, but this is going to be my channel from now on. I'm going to be creating content and just pretty much talking about whatever I feel like, and there's going to be a lot of Kingdom Hearts content, but there's also going to be a lot of miscellaneous stuff depending on what I feel like recording about. But this is going to be, I'm motivated. Like, this is going to be the new path of my channel, but I'm feeling more motivated now. We'll see how long that lasts, but for now, I'm going to just keep trucking along and seeing how many videos I can stick to making in a, well, not in a day, but in succession. When I work, that will be the true test. I've been on vacation for a little bit, but when I start working again, and if I can still consistently make videos, then I know we're at a good spot. And even if I can probably just make videos prior to the days I work, that way I can schedule them ahead of time. Maybe if I can figure out a way to do that. I mean, obviously there's always a way of just, you know, not being lazy, getting to it, having things to record about, but I think I got what I need to do, and I'm ready to just get back in the swing of things, because 2019 and 2020 was not a great year for YouTube, but there's no more excuses. I need to get back into it. Well, if you guys did enjoy this video, if you did, leave a like, subscribe, and you guys know the drill. I will see you guys later.